Hello my dear student, this is Ashok Mamtani here and I welcome you to on our school YouTube channel APS classes, and I request all of you to kindly subscribe this channel. With this video I am going to start your class 12 syllabus, and in this video I am going to take the chapter working with functions. We are going to deal with the things related to functions, what is meaning of a function, how they are helpful in programming, why they are needed in the programming, how can you create the functions in the Python, that is called how can you create the user defined functions in the Python, and you also will learn various concepts related to functions which we are using in programming. Here these are the topics which we are going to cover in this chapter. So let's begin by the term what basically a function is. Students, we are already making the programs in our daily routine, but when we make the programs for our real-time purposes, for real-time situations, their size is becoming very high. That is, the number of lines in the programs are increasing when we make them for the real purposes. Now such a programs, large programs, are not easy to handle and debug. They make the programming very much difficult. So what we do is that we can divide the programs into very small modules and small units called functions. The functions are basically a block of a code which is basically made to perform some task, and it act on some data values, and according to after doing some value, computing some value, it may or may not return a value depending on the type of it work does. It will be clear to you in the coming session. They not only make our programs easier to read and understand, and they also reduces the complexity of our programs by reducing the program size. Functions are designed in such a way that they can be used in any program and in any part of the program and any number of times. So they also makes us easier to handle large programs. So they are very useful in our programming and helps us in programming making much easier. If I try to explain you the meaning of the functions, then I can say that you are already using the functions in lower classes when you were using the Excel. There you have used sum, average and various other functions which are accepting the values from you and then giving you the results. For example, in this case, this sum function is adding the two values in the cells E2 and F2 and then giving you the sum of these two numbers. So functions are basically what they are. They are some code which is executing and accepting the data values, and then they work upon that data value and gives you a result. For example, sum is here taking the values 5 and 7, and then it is doing the task of adding those two numbers and then giving you the result, that is the sum of these two numbers, 12. The functions are already you have been using in the maths. If you see that fx square is equal to 2x square, this in polynomial 2x square is converted in the form of function fx. If I give the value of x equal to 1, it will give me the value 2. If I give the value x equal to 2, it will give me the value 8. So that we can say that the functions are taking some input and then they work upon that input and gives you the result. In programming also in Python, we can say that you are already using the functions in class 11th also. For example, I can say that the length function you have used, which is used to find the length of a string in form of integer. Here length is calculating the length of the string hello and giving you the as a output, as a result, that is the length, that is the number of characters in the string hello. So such functions already we are using there in class, but in this chapter we are going to learn how can we create our own functions in Python also. How can the user defined functions can be created and work like exactly the same way. Functions are taking some data, some input from the user, and then they work on that code is working on it and gives you the result. So if we talk about the Python, different types of functions in Python, then we have the three main categories of the Python functions. But first is the built-in functions. These are already predefined, always available in the standard library. Example is length, input and integer. The second category of functions are defined inside the modules. These are the functions which are kept in a separate modules, and to use them we have to import those modules in our program. For example, you have used the sqrt function last year, and for using those functions you have to import the math module. Now the third category of the functions are the user defined functions, which are defined by the programmers. These are the created by the programmers for their own work, for their own purposes. The input is given by the programmers itself, and everything is decided by the programmers in these functions. Let us now try to understand these functions through some code. Let us suppose take this program which is finding the length of a string. In this I am using an inbuilt function. In a new file I am going to show you how this works. See, this program is calculating the length of a string, and here I am using a length function. This function is accepting a s as a input and then calculating the length of the string. Let it run. If you see that it will calculate give me the length of the string. See, if I change the string here, the input will be changed and it will going to show me the according to that new output. Now s is Anil, it will going to calculate the length of the Anil string. So you change the input, the output will also change, but work will done by the function will be the same. Let us take one more example of the functions. This is another program which is showing you how can we use a module function sqrt. Again I am executing this code. See, I have put here this math.sqrt function is used here. I have imported the math file because sqrt is a function defined inside the module. Now n is the number whose square root value it is going to calculate. So this is how the inbuilt functions of the Python will work. Now I am telling you that we have created a program to add the two numbers. This is a normal program without using any functions. So if I use this program, it will run like as usual. You already executing this program. The same program can be converted into a user defined function sum. Let me copy this to you and show you. I am not executing this program, I can show you directly here. See, this program is for adding the two numbers. This program is a simple program you have done in class 11th also. But here I am changing this program, I am making a function sum. And in this program will work in such a way that it will use this user defined function sum, and it will find the sum of the two values. How this program will work, let me show you. X is the first value which is input taken by the user, y is the second value which is taken by the user. Now these x and y values are passed to a user defined function sum. X is value and y are passed to it. This is known as function call. Now these values are passed to the variables m and n. That is, the value of x and y is passed to the variable m and n. Now m and n are the exactly copies of x and y. So if I add m and n, indirectly I am adding the x and y. So when I store these m plus n value in q, and return q statement will what do? It will return the value back to the value z. So if I print this z, it will going to give me the value of sum of x and y. Let me run this program to show you how this is happening. See, this is the giving you the sum 30. Exactly, it is working just like. So in this program I have created a user defined function whose name is sum, and these are the input values given to it, and it is calculating the sum of these two numbers. And then suppose I want to add the two more numbers, so I can use this same code here. For example, I can write k is equal to sum of 10 comma 15. So it will going to add the 10 and 15 values that will be passed to the function, and same way, and it will give you the result in the back in the variable k. So if I print the k value, it will going to show me the sum of 10 and 15. It will first add the 10 and 20 as it is 30. Sorry, the sum should be in small. See, this 25 result is coming because of the second time sum function is called here in this code. So the sum functions are created here by the user, and they are called as many times as by the programmer. We are going to learn how to create these types of functions in our program now. Now try to understand how can we define the functions in Python. See, this is the syntax of creating the functions in the Python. All the functions in the Python are created using the keyword def and then followed by a function name. The function name is just like identifier naming rules. Following the identifier naming rules is given just like we give the variable names. Then the parameters are given to it. Then the body of the function is written just below that this line, and that lines are indented little bit towards the right. See, here I am showing you a function sum which is created, a user defined function. In this, the def keyword is used while creating the function. Sum is the name of the function, m and n are the values input given to the function, and this is the body of the call the function, and the return statement is going to return the value q which is calculated by this function. Let me show you all these details in the next slide. This is your program. Now first keyword def is there, then the function name, these are called parameters which we are passing to the function, which are given as an input to the function. These are written inside the parenthesis. Name of the function is sum. This entire line starting from def to colon, that is known as the containing the name of function is known as the function header. Q, and this return q, these two lines which are indented little bit towards the right hand side are known as the function of the body. It is actual code which is working and giving you the result, and this return statement is used to return the value computed by or calculated by the function back to the function where it is called. This is statement where we are using the function is known as function call statement. And now how the function is working is, let me show you in another slide. Flow of execution in a function call. Now whenever we call a function in a program, then we call it, the refers to the order in which the statements are executed during a program run. For example, I am showing you this thing in how the functions work and how the execution will flow. This is your same some program, how the statements will be executed in the program. First, into Python interpreter will check this line, it will be only a comment, so it will be ignored. Then the Python will come to the line number 2 it will check that it is a function definition or a function header, so it will just read the first line and then move to the line number 5. This is again a comment. Now execution will start from the 6, then 7, and then the 8. Now here the function will be called. Now when the function will be called, the values will be passed. X and Y values will be passed to M and N. Okay, now M and N will be added here. Their sum will be stored in the value Q. Now return statement will return the value of Q back to the calling function. Now this is known as the calling function and this is known as called function. Now from calling function, the values are returned back to the caller function by the return statement, and also the control is returning back to the caller function. Now next is the offset. So finally we can see the flow of execution in this way: 2, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 8 and 9. This is how the execution of the statements in a Python programs occurs. We can have some points regarding the functions which will help us to understand the functions in more better way. Number one is the functions can be inbuilt in the functions can be used in programs. Second is every function needs a name to be identified. This means that whether the function is inbuilt or a user defined, we have to define a name using which we can call the function and we can use the function anywhere. So a function is identified by its name. The naming rules are the same as that for the identifier naming rules. A function needs to be invoked or called in order to use them. This means that if you, unless and until you will not invoke the function is not going to be called, its body will not going to execute. The fourth point is function has a code which is executing again and again when it is called in the program. And the next point, it needs data to work upon. If it is depending upon the type and the nature of the function, how the data is needed. Every function does not need a data, it depends on the data, or if the depends on the type and the nature of the work that is performed by the functions. If the data is needed, then we pass the data to it through arguments, otherwise we do not pass the data to the function. Third point is, next point is that the function can be used in various programs. Same function that we can be used in various other programs according to a requirement. For example, the sum program that we have created, this can be used in various other programs. We can keep it in a separate file and then we can import that separate file in our required programs, and we can use the same function coding again and again. That is why the functions are making our code reusable. The functions code can be called any number of times. This we have seen in our code also. Let me show you all these points in our program, that how can these points can be there. For example, let us see the cube program. In this you can see that this is the code of the function which is called, and again these are the function calls. If we do not give these calls, the function will not going, this code will not going to execute. Next is that a function may or may not return a values. Function may or may not return the values depending on the work required to it. Function may and may not return a value. And the next is the function can be called any number of times. This function can be called any number of times means here you can see that I have called the function cube 3 times. Next point is any other point that we can also see here. There is a name and the function are invoked, that is called, then the code is executing. That means the body of the code is function body is executed whenever the structure of a Python program. See, this is the structure of a Python program. These are the functions used in the program, and these are the top level statements generally denoted by the main section of the program. Let me show you a program, then we can better understand this thing. See, this is a program where I have used 4 functions having names divide, product, sub, sum. These functions are doing the division of 2 numbers, product of 2 numbers, subtraction of 2 numbers, and the sum of 2 numbers. Now these 4 functions are defined just before in the beginning of the program, and from here up to there, this is known as the main section of the program. These lines are also called top level section of the program, and they they are not indented, whereas all the statements in the function are indented little bit towards the right, which shows that they are part of a function. Def keyword is used for defining that the next is a function, and all these for all the other functions which we are going to use in this program will be declared and defined just before the main section in this way. So this is the basic structure of a Python program. In this we can see that the x and y numbers are taken as input, then we have called sum, sub, product and divide functions one by one. These codes will be called one by one, and then we have print the results. In this also you can see that when sum is called, we will first the control will go to the sum function, this sum function, and it will add the two numbers and return q will return the value to the a. Then the sub function will be called, it will be calling this code again, and the q will return the value of add subtraction of two numbers to the b. Then product will be called function, and it will return it will go to the this part of the code, this part of the program where this code will be executed, and q will return the product of the two numbers in the number c. And then divide will also do the same thing. In this way the code will work. This is how this entire program will going to work in Python in a Python program. Now let us now move to the next topic of the program, that is the arguments and the parameters. These arguments and the parameters. Arguments and parameters are the two terms which are nowadays used interchangeably, but earlier in olden days the data values which were passed to the function through the function call are known as arguments, whereas the values being received in the function definition were known as the parameters of the function. Arguments play a very important role in the working of the functions. They are specified inside the parentheses in the function definition, and they are also specified in the parentheses during the function call. During the function call, the arguments can be literal, variable or expression, but at the time of function call they must be variables which are taking these values. Let me show you all these things in a program. See, for example, I am telling you the sum program in which we can see that these x and y are the arguments during the function call, and m and r are the parameters which are receiving the values of x and y, and then this code will work, and then finally q returns the result. Similarly, in a cube program we can see that there is x is the argument which is a variable, its value will be passed. F is all 5. Next in the next time 5 is an argument which is literal, and 3 plus 1 is the expression. You can also write a plus b. For example, a and b are the two variables, then their value will be added and then will be passed to the function. So we can have the variables, literals and arguments and expressions as an argument. Second thing, we can have as many as arguments we can have, we want according to our requirement. They can be of any data types also. So Python allows us to have the arguments and parameters in the function. If we talk about the program, then nowadays arguments and parameters are actually called actual parameters or formal parameters. Those values which are being passed to the function at the time of function call, they are known as actual arguments or actual parameters. That is why I am saying actual arguments and parameters are now used term individually. Only thing is that actual and formal terms are used. Actual is used for those parameters or arguments which are being passed at the time of function call. For example, in this x and y will be known as actual arguments, and m and n which are receiving the values in the function header are known as your formal arguments. So this thing should be clear in our mind before we proceed to understand some new concepts about the functions. Let us now move to the another concept of the functions, that is the how can we pass the arguments to the functions, that is the how can we pass the parameters to the functions in Python. There are three types of methods, three methods of passing the arguments to the function. Number one is positional, a required argument method, or a default argument method, or a keyword argument method. So let us talk about these one by one. First, passing parameter, first method is the positional argument method. In this method we can say that in a function call statement must match with the number and the order of the arguments as defined in the function definition. That is, the function arguments matching must be there, not only in the order but also in the requirement also. In simple way we can say that in this positional argument or required argument we have to follow the following things. Number one, there should be all the arguments must be there. If the function needs 3 arguments, then there must be 3 arguments. If a function needs 2 arguments, then the function call should have also the 2 arguments. Then second point is that in this the order of the arguments should also tally and must be matched. If the first argument is an integer and second is a string, then in the function definition then we should send the arguments in the same way, in the same order in the function call also. That is, first argument should be a number, an integer, and the second should be a string. Let me show you a program which can help us to understand this thing. There is one more program which I have already prepared for you, that is to calculate the interest of the numbers. See, this program is showing you the positional arguments. Here P, R and T are the 3 different variables. They are passed, definitely have to be passed from this function call. We are taking the value of print, rate and time from the user, and then we are passing these values to the P, R and T. So in this case we can understand that if there are 3 arguments, we have to pass all the 3 arguments to the function. We cannot pass only 2, or we can avoid, we can in 3 instead of 3 we can pass 4. That means 3 means 3 we have passed to the 3 arguments. Second thing is that we have to pass in the same order. For example, first principal, then we have to pass principal first from here. Rate means then second we have to pass the rate value, and the third is the rate. Then you will do the calculation of P into R into T to find the simple interest, and then it returns the simple program. Let us run this program to show you how this works. First take you the values of P and R and T. Principal is suppose 1000. Rate I am going to store in points, that is 0.1, 10% rate, and the time will suppose I take 2. Then it will give you the principal not, it will give you the interest in form in this case with the principal which is calculated. So this is how the positional argument is working. This is actually the default method of Python which we must right now till now we have seen. I hope this is clear to you, all of you. If any have doubt you can ask. If you have any doubt you can ask it through the comment section, or you can call the directly. Next method of passing the arguments is known as default arguments or default parameters. Method of passing parameters is a very useful method in which we are giving the default values to the arguments during the function definition. The advantage of doing this is that even if we do not pass the matching values to the function to the function call in the function call to the function definition, then the function itself will take the default values from the function definition and works. Let us see how this occurs through an example. I am showing you a simple interest program in which I am taking the default value for the rate. Now even if I do not provide the rate value for the rate in this in this function call, the program will not give me an error, and it will take this default value of rate as 0.10 and will calculate the simple interest. See, the interest is calculated in this way. I can also provide the value for the rate also. In this, what will happen, it will override the default value and take the value given by me. Okay, so these this is the meaning of the default values. The two important rules which we have to follow while using the default argument method is that number one, with which I have already told you, that you can also provide the default values for the default arguments, and in that case the if no value is provided for that parameter in the function call statement, the we can also provide the values for the default argument. Second, any parameter cannot have a default value unless all the parameters appearing on its right also have a default values. What does this mean is that if I want to provide the default value to any variable, then all the arguments to it should also have a default value. For example, in this case, if I want to provide the default value to the t, then it is okay, I can provide, because the argument r on its right is also a default. Suppose I want to provide the t as a default value, then in this case I can only will pass the value for the p to the function and it will going to work. Okay, but if I am not providing the value to the t and passing directly the value to the principal, then this will give me an error, because all the arguments on it on the all the arguments on the right hand side of p are not having the default values. T is not having a default value, so this will create a confusion for the compiler. So in that case the compiler will return an error. So to provide the default value, you have to provide the default value to the t and to the r also. In simple way, we can say that all the arguments on the right hand side of a argument should also have a default values. Okay, so this thing makes the our clear all the way. Now let us run this. Okay, even if we do not provide the value for 5000, it will take the all the three default values. Next method is the keyword and named argument method. In this method we are assigning names to the values being passed in the function call statement. For example, if I am passing the principal 2000, time is equal to 2 years and the rate is equal to 0.10, then I can allot a name print, time and rate to these variables respectively in the function call. The benefit of doing this is as follows. Number one, it makes me the flexibility in passing the arguments in with any order. In the first method we have seen that in positional method we have to pass all the arguments, and and their arguments order should also match with the given in the function header. If we change the order, then also it will create an error. A default method of passing arguments provide us the flexibility in passing the values, but the order also there also have to be maintained. There we also have to take care of the ordering of the arguments. But in keyword argument method there is no such restriction. It is more flexible than both these methods. In this you can provide the arguments a name, and then according to the name you can use those arguments in the call. You can interchange their positions. Yeah, it means you can change their order. For example, this same interest function have print, time and rate, but I have changed their order one by one in way. Okay, so let us see a program once more. In this also keyword argument I have provided the p, t and r as a keyword arguments. I have provided the 1000 argument p, value of p, name of p, and to the time I have provided a name t, and r I have provided a name 0.10. so it will help me to call the program much more easy. I can change their order also in the function call. Suppose I call the t with equal to 2 first. So this method is also very useful in Python. You can combine all the three types of these methods in a single function call. That is, Python allows you to combine all the multiple argument types in a single function call. For example, in this interest function, the Python is using the keyword argument method for passing the principal value. Time is passed as a keyword argument, and the rate is passed as a default. Let me show you a program which is doing this. See here, 5000 is given as a keyword argument, time is passed as a 5000 is passed as a positional argument, time is passed as a keyword argument, and the rate is passed as a default argument. This is how you can use these passing of the arguments methods in your program. While using this multiple argument method, you have to follow certain important rules. Python states that in a function call, the list of the arguments must first contain always the positionally required arguments, then followed by the keyword arguments. Secondly, no keyword argument can be keyword argument should always take the values from the required arguments preferably. And the third one is that you cannot specify a value for argument more than once. With these rules and the things, we can now understand the following calls which are correct and which are incorrect. This is your def interest method, in which time and rate are given some default values, and print and ccr will be provided values through the keyword method or positional argument method. Let us try to understand these functions, some of these function calls. For example, first is a legal function call, because we are providing the print and cc as a keyword argument and time and rate as a default argument. Here we are providing the rate and time both, principal both as a keyword argument, cc also as a keyword argument. In the third also, cc, rate and print, all the three arguments are given, and time is given default value. Now let us see some illegal. For example, in this case, rate is used as a keyword argument before the positional argument, so it is doing a wrong. Here 5000 is okay, because it is, but for print we are using the more than multiple values we are giving for the print argument. We are giving 5000 also, we are giving 3000 also, so this is illegal. Here also we have changed the variable defined. The print is to be used, I am writing principal here. Okay, so these are the some cases where the makes the calling of the multiple argument method illegal, and some of the cases where it is legal.